He opened his laptop and typed a draft message to Layla. He didn't send it. He wasn't ready to interrupt her life with big words. But what he typed was not business. Not strategy. Not rehearsed. Just truth. I don't know what I'm walking into. I only know I'm choosing it. He closed the laptop. No more thinking. No more waiting. He was going to Georgia, and this time not because of a contract or a fiancé or a family alliance, but because something real had finally entered his world, and he wasn't going to let it slip past him twice. Era did not cry. People expected tears after a broken engagement. They expected apology, regret, dignity, silence. But Era was not raised to be pitied. She was raised to win, and when winning was no longer possible, she was raised to destroy the board so no one else won either. She sat in the rooftop bar of her family's hotel, fingers wrapped around a glass she hadn't sipped from. The city lights below glittered like they were mocking her. She kept replaying the same scene. Duyun standing in her father's office, voice calm, controlled, and final. The engagement is over. I will handle the public announcement myself. No discussion. No room for negotiation. No emotion. And somehow that was the part that hurt the most. It wasn't that he chose another woman. It was that he didn't care how she felt about it. Era didn't want him back. She never loved him. But she needed him to still want her, to regret her, to remember her. Instead, he walked away as if she was already irrelevant. That was the betrayal she couldn't swallow. Not the loss of fiancé. Not the loss of business alliance. But the loss of power. She checked her phone again. Still no message from Duyun. Still no explanation. Still silence. And that silence lit the fuse. Liam arrived without being invited. The bartender escorted him personally, which meant he had used Era's name to get access. She didn't look at him when he sat down. "Why are you here?" she asked flatly. "To compare scars," he said, resting his arm along the couch. "You lost your fiancé. I lost my girlfriend. Looks like we both got discarded for the same reason." Era's jaw tightened. "Don't pretend this is new information," she snapped. "You already knew Duyun saw you with me. You already knew Layla walked away when she found out we were involved." He smirked. "And you already knew they were getting close long before the press does." Silence. They weren't informing each other. They were acknowledging damage. Era finally turned her head, eyes sharp. "Let's be clear. I don't need comfort and I don't need friendship." "Good," Liam replied. "I don't offer either." That was the moment they understood each other. They weren't allies. They were weapons in the same direction. Era set down her glass, voice low and controlled, the kind of voice she used only when she planned to do something irreversible. "Duyun thinks walking away from me is the end of the story. He thinks ending the engagement privately protects him. He thinks he can go to Georgia and start a new life without consequences." Liam leaned forward. "And what do you think?" Era smiled. A small, poisonous, beautiful smile. "I think the world should know that the perfect, dignified Kang Duyun didn't end the engagement for business reasons. I think the world should believe he broke it to chase a foreign woman. I think investors deserve to know that he's reckless enough to jeopardize international contracts for romance." Liam raised a brow, impressed despite himself. "No names mentioned," Era continued. "No proof. No accusations. Just a headline that ruins his clean image." She looked him directly in the eye. "And once his company panics, once the board calls him home, once his family starts questioning his judgment, he won't have time to chase any woman." Liam nodded slowly. It was exactly the kind of revenge he understood best. Not angry, not emotional, just effective. "And what do you want from me?" he asked. Era didn't hesitate. "Circulation, connections. You know American media and Korean tabloids. I know business networks. Together, we can make him bleed publicly." Liam exhaled. "And Layla?" Era didn't flinch. "She'll fall on her own once he starts drowning. Women like her don't survive scandals. They get blamed for them." Liam smirked. "And after that?" Era's voice turned razor soft. "After that, They will remember who they could have had, and who they chose instead. No alliance declared. No handshake. Just two people who refused to be forgotten. Before midnight, 3 people had been contacted. A business columnist, a family-owned media outlet director, a private investor group that monitored executive scandals. By 9 a.m. Korea time, the first headline leaked. Kong Group engagement reportedly broken. Sources hint CEO's private life involved. Do-yoon hadn't even landed in Georgia yet. But the world had already been told a version of the story, and the version Era wanted was, he left because of another woman. Not because he was betrayed first. Not because the engagement was built on business, not love. Not because he made the ethical choice. The world wasn't going to hear the truth. Not yet. The wheels of the plane touched down, but it didn't feel like arrival. Felt like impact. Do-yoon's phone, which he had turned back on just before landing, began vibrating nonstop. First 1 notification, then 5, then 12. He expected business updates. He got headlines instead. Breaking news. Kong Group confirms engagement termination. Rumors point to CEO's private life. Anonymous source claims. He left the fiancée for someone else. CEO family silent. Social media speculates foreign woman involved. His jaw clenched. He didn't blink. He didn't curse, not on the outside. But something inside him went cold. Because he understood immediately. This wasn't random. This wasn't accidental. This was Era. And worse, the story wasn't just about him. It was circling Layla, even without naming her. He had never touched her publicly. Never posted her. Never spoke her name. Never crossed a line in business. But perception didn't need proof. He scrolled further. Business sites were already picking it up. Investors express concern over CEO's judgment amid engagement scandal. Is personal life affecting Kong Group leadership stability? And the one headline that made his fingers tighten around the phone. Who is the woman worth ending a multi-billion-won alliance for? That was the moment Do-yoon stopped walking. Because for the first time, the story wasn't just about him. It was about her. And he had promised her, even without saying the words, that he would never be the reason her life became smaller. Now he was watching it happen in real time. His phone rang. His father. That alone confirmed everything. He answered. The voice was not angry. It was worse. Calm. Disappointed. Controlled. Do-yoon, you will return to Seoul immediately. No. The word came out before he could think. There was a pause, the kind of silence that implied a line had just been crossed. You refuse to come back while your name is collapsing in the markets? I refuse to abandon what I choose just to fix what someone else broke. Another silence, longer, colder. You are no longer acting like the heir of Kong Group. Do-yoon's voice dropped. I'm finally acting like a man, not a product. The call ended without farewell. That was how he knew the war was real. Layla was in the middle of answering emails at the internship office when her phone lit up with messages from 2 friends, a classmate, and then, finally, her cousin. All 4 said the same thing. Is this about you? Girl? Is this the CEO you met? Tell me this article is lying. She clicked the link. And even without seeing her name, she felt like she just walked into a spotlight she never asked for. Because the headline didn't need to identify her. Every detail pointed to her city, her timeline, her presence with him. Everyone who knew her would connect the dots. Everyone who didn't would soon start looking for a face. She sat still for a long time. Not crying. Not panicking. Just processing. She had finally walked away from Liam. She had finally started building herself again. She had finally let herself believe that her life could be hers, not someone else's emotional playground. And now this, not her mistake, not her scandal, but still her burden. She wasn't angry yet. She was scared because this wasn't heartbreak. This was public damage. Her supervisor walked by, noticed her expression, and asked, "Are you okay?" And for the first time since she met Do-yoon, she didn't know how to answer. He didn't go to his hotel. He didn't go to the company branch. He went straight to her campus, not impulsively, but with a decision already formed. He wasn't going to hide her. He wasn't going to deny her, and he wasn't going to let her deal with consequences he caused. As he walked through the glass doors of the business building, he passed a TV monitor on the wall. It was playing the news. And there it was again. Kong Group CEO ends engagement abruptly. New woman rumored. The volume was low, but students were staring, whispering, curious, hungry for scandal. He accepted it calmly, because he already knew the truth. The only way to protect her now was not to pull away, but to stand beside her. He texted her, "I'm here, outside your building. No hiding, no apologies, just truth." And then he waited, not as a CEO, not as a man running from a scandal, but as a man who had already chosen what and who mattered. She stared at the message on her phone. "I'm here, outside your building. No hiding, no apologies, just truth." Her pulse kicked up, not because she didn't want to see him, but because seeing him now meant stepping into something she didn't ask for. She stood up. Her supervisor watched her, concerned. Her classmates glanced over. A girl by the printer whispered something to a friend and pointed at her phone. The story was already spreading. The only thing left was her response. She took a breath, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the exit. Every step felt like the weight of a decision. Not whether she liked him, not whether she trusted him, but whether she was ready to become part of a story people would judge without knowing. He stood near the entrance of the building. No sunglasses, no hat, no security. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't pretending to be someone else. He was standing still, hands in pockets, letting people stare, whisper, take pictures if they wanted. If this was going to be loud, then it would at least be on his terms. And then he saw her, walking toward him slowly, eyes steady, not running, but not smiling either. And every emotion he carried, anger, guilt, protectiveness, longing, sharpened into one quiet truth. If she told him to leave, he would go. But if she didn't, then everything was going to change. She didn't hug him. She didn't look away. She just stood in front of him and said, softly but without fear, "Tell me what's real, Duyun. Not what the news says, not what people think. Just the truth between us." He answered immediately, no hesitation. "The truth is that I ended an engagement that was already empty long before I met you. The truth is that you didn't take anything from anyone. And the truth is, if people want to blame someone, they blame me. Not you." She swallowed. There was something in his voice she hadn't heard before. Not romance, not intensity, responsibility. But responsibility wasn't enough to erase consequences. So she asked the harder question, "Can you promise this won't destroy my life?" He paused, and that pause was important. He refused to lie just to keep her. "I can't promise the world will be kind, but I can promise I won't let you face it alone." Not for a single second. Her eyes flickered, not melting, just weighing, because this wasn't a fairy tale moment. This was real life, real risk, real exposure. And she wasn't a girl who fell for pretty lines. She was a woman asking, "Do you want me because it's hard? Or because it's me?" He didn't reach for her hand. He didn't pull her closer. Instead, he said, "If you walk away now, I won't stop you. I'll fix the scandal alone, defend your name, and disappear from your life so you can breathe." Her chest tightened. He continued, "But if you stay, even for one step, then I'm not hiding what we are anymore. Not from my family. Not from the media. Not from the company. I'm done living like I owe the world my happiness." That was the real turning point. Not a kiss. Not a confession. A choice. Silent. Heavy. Life-changing. And she knew if she answered yes, it wouldn't just be love. It would be war. People were filming now. Students recording. Someone across the courtyard taking pictures. A man on his phone whispering, "That's him. That's the CEO." She saw it. He saw it. Neither looked away, because the world had already written a version of the story. The only question was who would write the real one. She finally spoke. Not yes. Not no. Something more honest. "I don't know what I'm choosing yet, but I'm not walking away." His breath left him slowly. because that was not a refusal. It was a beginning. The article hit Korea before noon. Kong Group Air ends engagement days before merger. Foreign woman suspected. No name, no photo, just bait. And it worked. By the afternoon, stock discussion forums were speculating. Business blogs ran follow-up posts. Reporters camped outside Kong Group headquarters. Influencers began using the phrase mystery American girlfriend like it was entertainment. Do-yoon had expected noise, but what he didn't expect was how hard it would hit inside his company. His father's secretary appeared in his office doorway without knocking. Your father wants you in the main conference room. Immediately, which was Kong family language for, this is no longer private. He walked in. Board members, his parents, Era's father, everyone seated, everyone silent, like he was the subject of a courtroom. His father spoke first. Tell us this rumor is meaningless. Do-yoon didn't blink. It's not meaningless. I ended the engagement because it wasn't a real relationship. That's all. Era's father leaned forward, voice like ice. You ended a partnership that took two families 10 years to build. Do-yoon answered without flinching. I ended a wedding, not a business. But the world, his father countered, does not separate those things. You've made us appear unstable. Someone added, investors are nervous. The merger is now at risk. But the worst blow came from his mother, soft voice, but pointed. And for what, Do-yoon? A woman you haven't even introduced to us. Silence. Because they assumed this was infatuation. Temporary. Embarrassing. Fixable. But he didn't deny her. Not anymore. I'm not apologizing for ending an engagement built on business. I'm not going to marry someone I don't love just to protect a public image. That sentence shifted the room. Because it wasn't about Era anymore. It was about control. And Do-yoon just broke the unspoken rule. In this family, you don't choose personal happiness over strategy. It spread to the US around 3 p.m. She was scrolling her phone when she saw it. Not from a friend, not from Do-yoon, but from a TikTok account that reported Korean business gossip. Rumors say CEO was seen in America with a black woman. Is this why he left his fiancée? Her chest tightened, not just because of the rumor, but because of how people were commenting. Why always a foreign girl? Bet she's using him for money. I don't believe he'd pick her over a Korean woman. Doesn't make sense. She better hope he doesn't drop her in a week. She wasn't named, but she could feel the outline forming. And once the outline exists, it's only a matter of time before someone fills it in. She locked her phone, pressed it against her forehead. She had prepared herself for judgment, but not for racism. Not for being treated like a scandal instead of a person. And definitely not for the quiet fear that whispered, what if this ruins everything I've worked for? Because Layla wasn't some carefree rich girl. She was fighting for a future, education, career, stability. She couldn't just run away for love. That was fantasy. This was risk. Liam sent Era a screenshot of the trending hashtag. Hashtag Do-yoon breaks off wedding. Era replied, good. Now we move to phase 2. Liam typed, you're still sure you want to do this? Bad enough the engagement ended. He embarrassed you and me both, but you're about to go nuclear. Era's answer came instantly. He embarrassed me privately. I will destroy him publicly. She wasn't crying. She wasn't heartbroken anymore. She was planning. And she already had the next headline drafted with her PR contact. Betrayed fiancé speaks out. CO left me for another woman. With timed release. With sympathetic tone. With victim narrative. And at the bottom, not confirmed but implied, she would let the world know. The other woman was already seeing my boyfriend. Not proven. Doesn't matter. Because people don't need proof. They only need a story. Do-yoon finally called Layla that night. She didn't pick up on the first ring. Or the second. When she finally answered, her voice was steady, but raw. Do-yoon, I need you to be honest with me. Is this going to get worse? He didn't lie. Yes. A silence, sharp and full. And can it destroy my future? she asked quietly. The hardest question. The one he wished she wouldn't ask. If we do nothing, then yes, it might. And if we fight back? Then it gets louder before it gets better. Another silence. Then her voice. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking if you're fighting for me or just fighting the situation. He closed his eyes. The only thing I'm sure of right now is you. She didn't say she believed him. She didn't say she didn't. She just whispered, okay. Then we decide the next step together. And that was the moment the story stopped being them reacting and started being them planning. The studio lights were soft, warm, forgiving. Era sat in the center chair, hands folded in her lap, hair styled into gentle waves, makeup designed to make her eyes look watery, not angry. The host leaned in gently, voice lowered, like speaking to someone grieving. Miss Han, first, thank you for agreeing to speak with us. I know this is painful. Era lowered her gaze, perfectly timed. I didn't want to say anything, but the truth has been twisted so much, I just couldn't stay silent anymore. The host nodded. Is it true? The engagement has ended. Era hesitated. Just enough to make the world lean closer, before she whispered, yes, I was blindsided. I thought we were planning a future together. And instead, I was being replaced. There it was. Not screamed. Not bitter. But spoken like a wound. The host leaned forward. There are rumors he met someone else. A woman in America. Era swallowed, eyes softening with perfect heartbreak. I don't know her name. I don't even know what she looks like. I just know she wasn't part of our world. She wasn't someone approved by either family. She appeared, and suddenly everything I'd been promised was gone. The words were chosen carefully. Not black. Not American. Just not part of our world. Which was enough. Enough to paint Layla as an outsider. Enough to make the public imagine a villain. Enough to make Era look like the abandoned, loyal bride. The host spoke gently. Do you still love him? Era looked down, voice thinning like breaking glass. I don't know how to unlove someone you built your life around. The nation would replay that line for days. Not because it was true, but because it was perfect. She didn't mean to watch the whole thing. She had only clicked the link to see how bad it was. But then she kept watching, and every word sliced deeper. It wasn't the lies that hurt. It was the precision. Era didn't accuse Layla by name, but she didn't have to. She left just enough breadcrumbs for the internet to hunt her down later. Business student. From Georgia. Not Korean. Met him while he was in the US. It was like watching a bomb being assembled in slow motion, and knowing she was the target. When the interview ended, Layla didn't cry. She just sat back, hands shaking, and whispered, she's not telling her truth. She's telling her strategy. And for the first time, she understood. Era wasn't a scorned lover. She was a weapon. She wasn't expecting him. She hadn't answered his last call, hadn't replied to his message, hadn't decided anything yet. So when the knock came, her heart tripped. She opened the door. Do-yoon stood there. Not in a suit, not carrying gifts or flowers, but in a plain black sweater, hair slightly messy, eyes tired in the way only someone holding everything together for too long could look. He didn't speak first. He just looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that wasn't collapsing. And that, more than words, almost undid her. She stepped back. Let him in. But she didn't move close. She stood by the kitchen counter, arms crossed, trying to keep her voice steady. You saw the interview? Yes. She made it look like I stole you. She made it look like she was innocent. A bitter little laugh escaped Layla. And she did it beautifully. Do-yoon didn't defend himself. He didn't say, I'll fix it or don't worry. Instead, he said something she didn't expect. You don't have to stay. Not in this. Not with me. If you walk away now, I'll never blame you. Her eyes snapped to him. He looked serious. Not noble. Not tragic. Just real. And if I don't walk away? She asked quietly. Then I stop hiding who you are. I stop pretending this was an accident. And I start protecting you the way I should have from the beginning. Silence. Not the cold kind. The alive kind. The kind filled with all the things they were afraid to say. He stepped closer, slowly, not reaching for her, just getting near enough that she could feel his presence. The warmth of him, the quiet steadiness he carried even when the world was on fire. Her breath went uneven. He noticed and paused, not because he doubted her, but because he refused to force anything. She looked up at him, really looked, and something inside her softened and tightened at the same time. "This doesn't feel fair," she whispered. "I wasn't ready to fall into someone's mess. I was just trying to live my life." He exhaled, voice rough. "I wasn't ready to fall in love with someone who made me realize how empty my life actually was." There it was, the word, not hinted, not implied, love. Her lips parted, not for a kiss, but from the shock of hearing it spoken aloud. He leaned in, slowly, carefully, close enough that she could feel his breath, close enough that if she moved even an inch, their lips would meet. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But she put a hand on his chest, not pushing him away, just stopping time. "I can't," she said softly. "Not like this. Not when everything hurts." He closed his eyes, forehead lowering to hers, not touching, just letting closeness do what words couldn't. "I'll wait," he murmured. "As long as you need." And that was somehow more intimate than a kiss. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She ignored it at first. Then it buzzed again. And again. 3 notifications. Same sender. She finally reached for it. Her face went still. Duyun saw it. "What is it?" She turned the screen so he could see. Private message. No name. Just 3 words. "We know your name." Then a second. "You're next." And a third with a link. A photo of her and Duyun at the bar the night they met. Taken from across the room. Time-stamped. Already posted on a forum. The world had found her. Not by rumor. Not by guessing. But by proof. Layla met his eyes, voice barely there. It started. And for the first time, Duyun didn't look angry. He looked ready. The flight from Atlanta to Seoul was 14 hours. But to Duyun it felt like 14 seconds and 14 years at the same time. He sat in first class, suit jacket folded neatly over his lap, eyes closed, not to sleep, but to replay every second of the last 48 hours with Layla. Her laughter, her eyes when she talked about her dreams, the way her voice softened when she said his name, not Chairman Jung, not Mr. Duyun, just Duyun, as if the name finally belonged to a person and not a position. He should have felt guilty. He should have felt afraid of what this would cost him. He should have felt the weight of business, image, and family expectations. But all he felt was alive. And that scared him more than anything. For the first time since he inherited the company at 25, he wasn't thinking in strategy or numbers or outcomes. He was thinking about the way Layla's fingers brushed his when she handed him her phone to show a picture, and how the small contact had sent a quiet shock to his heart. The kind he never got from Era. Not even once. Era. Her name cut the atmosphere like a blade. She had been furious the last time they spoke, and he didn't blame her. He had finally said what neither of them wanted to admit. "We don't love each other, Era. We both know we never did." She cried, then threatened, then pretended to be calm. Classic Era strategy. Emotional storm, then cold calculation. But she hadn't said the real thing yet. She hadn't mentioned Liam. She hadn't confessed what he saw with his own eyes. She was waiting, which meant she was planning. Duyun opened his eyes and exhaled through his nose. Let her plan. Whatever comes, I'm not going back. His phone buzzed. Time difference meant it was still afternoon in Georgia. Layla sent a message. "Did you land yet? Or still in the clouds?" He smiled. An actual smile, the kind that softened the edges of his face. He typed back, "Still in the sky, but my mind is somewhere else entirely." She replied instantly, "Somewhere romantic or somewhere stressful?" He hesitated, then answered honestly, "Somewhere that feels like trouble I'm willing to choose." There was a pause, long enough to make him wonder if he'd gone too far. Then, "I've never been chosen before. Not really. Not by someone who meant it." The words hit him like a hand pressed to his chest. Gentle but undeniable. He didn't reply. Not because he didn't want to, but because flight attendants announced landing, and for the first time in years, he wished he could stay in the air. Because the moment he touched Korean soil, he would no longer be just a man thinking about a woman. He would be the CEO, the son, the fiancé in name only, the heir whose personal life was never personal. And that meant one thing: whatever happened next could not remain quiet. The airport escort led him straight to a black Genesis sedan waiting outside. His driver bowed, opened the back door, but didn't start the engine until he saw the expression in the rearview mirror. "Sir, is everything all right?" Duyun blinked. That was the problem. He wasn't good at being visibly human. His staff wasn't used to seeing him look anything other than composed, sharp, and almost unreachably controlled. "Yes," he finally said, voice lower than usual. "Just tired." But he wasn't tired. He was changed, and Sol had no idea yet. Layla sat on her small apartment sofa, hugging a throw pillow, rereading the last text from Duyun more times than she wanted to admit. "Trouble I'm willing to choose." Felt unreal. This man, this impossibly elegant, restrained, intimidating CEO, had said something that wasn't polished or diplomatic or safe. Something real. She pressed her forehead against the pillow and groaned. "Girl, get a grip. I swear, one man with a jawline and a soul, and suddenly you're starring in your own drama." She threw the pillow down and stood pacing. She wasn't naive. This was risky, complicated, untimely, and she didn't want to be the other woman in any story, not again, not ever. But the truth was simple. She felt something for him, and he felt something back, and that was already changing everything. Just then, her phone buzzed again, but it wasn't Duyun this time. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, until she saw the preview line. "Hello, Layla Johnson. This is the Korea-US Trade Fellowship Program. We received a nomination with your name on it." She froze. "Korea? Trade? Nomination?" She clicked the message open, heart pounding. "You have been recommended by an international corporate sponsor for a 6-month placement in Seoul. All expenses covered. We would like to schedule your interview this week." Her pulse hammered. Corporate sponsor? There was only one person who could have done that, and yet she wasn't sure if she should be excited, touched, or completely terrified. She whispered into the quiet of her apartment. "Duyun, what are you doing?" The Jung estate was quiet when Duyun entered, but he already sensed it, the shift in atmosphere. Not the warm, respectful quiet that usually greeted him after a business trip. This was the waiting kind of silence, the "we need to talk" silence. He didn't even make it up the stairs before he heard it. "Duyuna," his mother's voice, soft, elegant, but sharpened with something beneath the surface. He turned, bowed slightly. "Mother." She stood at the end of the hallway, perfectly dressed in a fitted silk blouse and tailored pants, looking every inch the polished society matriarch she was known to be. Beautiful, poised, and terrifyingly observant. She didn't smile. She didn't greet him with warmth or welcome home. She just studied him, eyes narrowing in a way only a mother could. "You look different. Not tired. Not stressed. Different." He said nothing. She hated lies, and he didn't have a clean answer. She stepped closer, voice lowering. "I spoke with Era's mother. She said you left the US abruptly." She sounded upset. "Should I assume there is something I should be aware of?" There it was. Not an accusation. A warning invitation. "Tell me before I find out myself." Duyun exhaled slowly. "Mother, the engagement will not continue." Her eyes widened, but only for half a second. She was too well trained in composure to give more than that. "Does this have anything to do with the woman Era said she saw you with?" So Era had already moved. She hadn't told everything. Not yet. But she had planted just enough suspicion to set the ground. He remained still, gaze steady. "It has everything to do with the fact that Era and I were never in love, and that I am done pretending for the sake of business optics." Her jaw tightened. "You were raised to understand that personal feelings do not outweigh long-term alliances. Duyun. Your father." "My father built a company, not a prison." He cut in quietly. A rare flash of emotion crossed her face. surprise mixed with a flicker of hurt. So you're throwing away a 10-year business relationship for a woman you met a week ago? There it was, the real question. And he didn't deny it. No, I'm ending something that was never real. The woman I met only made that truth impossible to ignore. His mother stared long enough for the air to turn fragile. Then she spoke, quiet but cold. Do-yoon, whatever this is, it better be more than infatuation. Because if you're making decisions like a man in love instead of a CEO, the board will not choose you over the company. His heart shifted, not in panic, but in clarity. Then let them try. She blinked. He had never spoken to her like that, not with rebellion but certainty. That scared her more than anger ever could. Layla paced her living room as if the floor itself were asking questions. A fully funded business fellowship in Seoul. A program people applied for, dreamed about, fought for. And she didn't even apply, she had been nominated. She sat on the edge of her desk chair, staring at the email again. Interview scheduled upon confirmation. Opportunity includes housing, salary, business mentorship, and direct access to global trade executives. It was perfect, a guaranteed path into international business. A door she had never believed she'd be allowed to knock on, let alone walk through. And yet, why did she feel like crying instead of celebrating? Because she knew that this had something to do with him. She called her best friend, Karina. Girl, tell me why you sound like someone offered you free front row Beyoncé tickets and you're not sure if you should go, Karina said the moment she picked up. Layla laughed weakly. Because it feels too good to be real. Or maybe it's finally your turn to get something good, her friend countered. Who nominated you? One of your professors. Layla hesitated too long. Karina gasped. Oh my God. It was the Korean guy, wasn't it? The one you've been soft blushing over. It's not like that, Layla said quickly. Even though it was partly like that. I don't even know for sure if it was him. But it probably was. And if it was, I don't want to be someone he sponsors. I want to earn things myself. Karina didn't tease. Her tone softened. Okay, so ask him. Layla froze. Ask him? Her stomach twisted. What if I'm wrong? What if it wasn't him? What if I make this a bigger deal than it is? What if? What if he wanted to help you because he believes in you? Karina cut in. Men like him don't waste time, energy, or influence on people they don't respect. That sank into her chest like truth wrapped in warmth. But then another thought hit her. Sharper, darker. If I go to Korea, Liam will know. Era will know. Everything will get bigger. Messier. Karina sighed. You were already in the mess. This is just the first time there's something in it for you. Liam stared at his phone, reading and rereading the same screenshot. A message Era had sent him. He left the US early. Something changed. I don't know what he's planning, but he looks different. Liam cracked his knuckles. He didn't care about Era's drama. Not really. But the word different, that bothered him. Because men like him and Do-yoon didn't just change. Not unless there was a reason. And he knew what or who that reason was. Layla. He wasn't ready to let her go. Not when she was the one woman who didn't care about his money, which made him crave her attention more than any girl who threw herself at him. He smirked, opening a new message window. Hey Layla, heard some interesting news. Korea, huh? Guess you're not as done with me as you said. He paused, then added, I'll be seeing you soon. But he didn't send the message. Not yet. No, he would wait until it would land with maximum impact. Because if Do-yoon thought he had won, Liam wasn't just going to lose. He was going to ruin the game. Do-yoon stood in his study, jacket off, sleeves rolled, staring at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul at night was a perfect metaphor for his life. Bright, structured, full of movement, and absolutely merciless. His phone buzzed. Layla. He didn't answer immediately, not because he didn't want to, but because he needed a second to let the softness in her name settle inside him before he spoke. He finally picked up. Layla, her breath caught. She hadn't expected him to sound like that. Softer than he ever sounded in public, like he wasn't the CEO at all, just a man missing her. "Hey," she said. I need to ask you something." He sensed it instantly, not casual, not light. Important. "Ask me anything." She hesitated. "Did you put my name in for a Korea trade fellowship?" Silence. Not guilty silence. Not fearful silence. Just stillness. Then quietly, "Yes." Her breath hitched. Because he hadn't denied it. Because he hadn't pretended it was coincidence. Because he wasn't ashamed of it. She sank onto her sofa, heart racing. "Why? Why would you do that for me?" A long exhale. "Because you deserve to be in rooms where people see your value," he said. "And because you weren't going to nominate yourself. You're the kind of person who works hard and waits to be chosen. I've been that person. It's exhausting. So I made sure someone finally chose you." Her throat tightened. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not "I like you," not "I want you," but something deeper. "You deserve this." She swallowed. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," he replied. "That's why I wanted to." Her chest ached. Not painfully, but full, like something inside her was expanding too fast to hold. But then the fear returned. "If I accept, everyone will know. My professors, my colleagues, people back in Georgia, Liam, Era, your mother, your company. This won't stay quiet." "I know. And if I go to Korea, there's no going back to pretending we're just two people who met at a bar." "I know that too," he murmured. The quiet stretched, gentle, not awkward. Then he said something that made her heart stop. "Layla, I don't want to forget what happened between us. I don't want it to be something we apologize for later. I want it to be something we move toward, not away from." It wasn't a confession of love, but it was the closest thing to truth without hesitation she had ever heard. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Duyun, I'm scared." "So am I." But he said it like a promise, not a warning. Being scared doesn't mean we stop. It just means we decide whether it's worth the risk. She closed her eyes, fighting tears, because no man had ever spoken to her like she wasn't a temporary option, but a choice with consequence. "I'll think about it," she said. "Take your time," he answered. "I want you to choose this because you want it, not because it leads to me." Thank you for watching. Episode 3 ends here. If you enjoyed the story, leave us a comment, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and click on your notification bell to get notified whenever a new story is made.